Hello, this is Sarah, Painty Creator. Welcome back to part 2. So, we're back for part 2 and it's dry. So this is the point where I'm sort of looking and thinking, okay, what does it need so that it can stand out and be a painting on its own. I quite like this graduated sort of move through the forest. Maybe you could add a few more, if darker trees if you were wanting. For me, I think I could do with adding some foliage on. So I'm still going for my little mop brush. I'm just going to mix up some of this olive green and this dusk yellow in my palette. And I'm just going to start just dropping in some little bits of tree foliage. Just thinking about, I might add a little bit of this brown colour, a little bit of dark in there. A little bit of this dusk yellow. Just building up the foliage, using whatever's on my palette really. And they're just blobs, don't be painting leaves, they're just blobs, different pleasured blobs. So into that sort of cooler forest. I love my little mop brushes, how they separate and sort of give you a different tonal feel. A little bit of split brush, and don't worry about it because they'll go back. I'm just picking these greens up. Just add a little bit more of that dusk yellow onto my palette. Jean Brilliant. So I'm just going for different colours and tones of leaf blobs. As if there might be a tree off here that's got some branches coming over. Foliage coming. Off my brush, I'm just going to soften some of that back in. A little bit of water, let it do its thing. So we're starting to make a little bit of inroads. I'm just going to do some light foliage here. I'm just going to add a little bit of that Jean Brilliant into it. Great if you think, oh, that tree trunk's too straight, or yeah, just to add a little bit of distant foliage in. Remember that water makes things lighter in tone. It just adds a little bit of distance. Nice way of enhancing some of those distant bushes and things as well. So just a bit of water, rub it in, take a step back, see where you need something, and you're basically just going to carry on blobbing for a little while. So I'm going to pause because you don't need to watch me blobbing, you can blob by yourself. Okay, so I've been blobbing. I'm just going to define a little bit of this bank over here a little bit more. So that was just the brown mix that I used on the trees. And I'm just going to add a little bit more of these greens together. Just to create a little bit of a bank. Clean water, I'm just going to wash that into the, that looks a bit strange, so I'll just run a little bit of Jean Brilliant through there just to break it up a bit. That's like the light coming through the bushes, which I quite like. I'm going to probably put a little bit of Jean Brilliant onto the water. It is a very opaque colour, but it's nice as a thread through. So we've sort of built the forest. Just get a damp brush and just lay that a little bit. Not sure about those flat tops. Not much that grows flat there we go, that's better. Okay, so now for a bit more detail on the foreground, I'm going to just darken this tree trunk. So another glaze of ultramarine and the burnt umber. You might not need to darken your tree trunks, but particularly where it's in the foreground, I do like to normally have a darker side. So I'll just wash that into the ground, and then I'm just going to dab a little bit of water into there just to wash it across. It's a bit darker. I might go back and darken it a bit more. So the question is, do I put a really dark one across here? I think that would spoil it for me, but you could put a really dark tree trunk up. I think I quite like the openness and looking into the glade for me, but it's your painting, so you do what you want. So I'm just going to go in and enhance this bush. I'm going to use some of this dusk yellow and the greens that I've just unboxed, the olivey green and the brown forest, the olive forest, is it? Forest olive. I think they're quite nicely complementary to this dusk yellow. Plenty of water there because I just want it to show its granulation. I'm going to put this one in front of that. So it's just like doing hills, really. You get that sort of idea of the layers in the landscape. And I'm probably going to do some more grassy sort of edges of this bush because we've got lots of dabs. And this is where mop brushes I think are brilliant because you can sort of intuitively work with them. They hold lots of water and paint and pigment, and so you can sort of go with the flow a little bit. As this dries, you'll see the yellow coming out. And just to encourage it, I'm just going to give it a spritz in my spritzer bottle because it is a foreground. So I'm going to just darken some of these little twigs of trees and things that we've got going on here. And soften that in a little bit. And some brushes or so just the same colours, just rolling it around on my palette. Soften that in with some water. So that's got a really nice patch of light that draws the eye, that draws the eye, and then it feels like this is in this sort of nice visible highlight of just put a little bit more brighter brown on some of these. So this is just glazing, so it's just a really watery mix of colour that just lifts some bits. And as you can see there's some really nice things happening here. I'm just going to splash some more water into here. This granulation texture comes into its own when you just give it some life to work with by itself. It's just so nice. I love it. It's the bit I love, the life of watercolour. The same, we're coming here. Got a nice bright patch leading us down into the water. Wash it away. So I'm going to let this sit for a while, let this water develop, let this granulation come, which is absolutely beautiful, and see what happens. But I'm loving this granulation in the foreground of this little bushy tree. So I'll be back in a bit. So I'm quite happy with this. This is still drying. I'm leaving it. I might go and darken these a little bit. They're drier. I'm not quite happy with the depth of the brown on them. So I'm just mixing up some don't know what that was, ultramarine and blue, ultramarine blue and burnt umber. I'm just going to darken this little twiggy brush here. Of that tray. I just want to darken off some of these main I'm just going to add a few more blobs over this one, just to feel it like it's coming into the foreground. I'm literally just picking up whatever's on my palette as a way of just smooching in a little bit more. That's better. Okay, so I'm just going to let that dry, and then I'm going to have sketched a heron out here, so I want to paint that heron in. It looks better. Okay, so for my heron, I'm going to go for a cerulean blue with a little bit of Payton's grey. So I think they are quite a bluey grey colour. So for a lighter tone, I'm going to add a little bit of this Jean Brilliant in for a sort of a lighter greener, slightly greener tone. And a little bit of yellow ochre for his beak. I'm just going to add a little bit of yellow ochre for the beak. And then This is the dark stripe that sort of goes across the head and into the body, back of the neck, into the wing. And then a bit of a lighter grey. And then I will let that dry. Probably go over it another couple of times. To finish, I might add a little bit of gouache in there if I need to. But you've got the idea. Hopefully that's really helpful to you to see how to build an intuitive thing. Quite like my new paints. I really like this gold in it. But I've got to go because I've got a doctor's appointment. So I shall see you soon.